This is the most fundamental thing because if you work in a company, regardless of what department you're in and you don't know what the business model is, then that's just a recipe for disaster because you won't have any idea about how to do things. Cha-ching! What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video with the Millennial Finance. Today, I'll be talking about some tips to better progress at your job as a fresh grad. The reason I'm making this video is for two things. The first one is that, of course, nowadays we're seeing a lot of talk about how fresh grads are not getting paid what they deserve, even though they have diplomas, degrees, and likes. Another reason is that I'm actually in the process of changing jobs, so I just thought it would be a good time for me to reflect on my time in my previous job and share a bit of my experiences there as well as what I did. I actually spent 3 years in my first job as a fresh graduate, and I thought that my progress there was pretty great. I started off in a management trainee program, so I was reporting directly to the CFO of Digi, and that definitely gave me a head start. After completing the program about 2 years ago, I got a promotion and then I got another one this year. So I'll be sharing some of the things that I did that I think helped me progress a bit quicker in this company. Even though, yes, I admit that being in a management trainee program definitely gave me a head start, but I do think that the things I'm going to be talking about today can be applied regardless of where you start. This is more for fresh grads though. I guess if you're a bit more experienced, it may not apply, but still some of these things are just general good rule of thumbs. And with every single tip that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, I'll be sharing some of my examples as well about how I applied it, just to show that these are not just random things that I pulled from the internet and just decided to share with all of you. So the first tip that I will have for everyone is that you really have to understand your company and the industry that your company is in. At the most basic level, I would say you have to at least know how your company makes money and what kind of costs are associated with running this business. This is the most fundamental thing because if you work in a company, regardless of what department you're in and you don't know what the business model is, then that's just a recipe for disaster because you won't have any idea about how to do things. Then find out where the company is heading, where they want to be 1 year down the road, 3 years, 5 years down the road, and also figure out what are the challenges that the company is facing in order to achieve these goals. You're almost like becoming an analyst for this company. Imagine that you want to invest in a stock. Of course, you're going to do all this research as well, right? So do this on your company as well, and it will really help your career. If you're working in a public company, then it makes things a lot easier. You can just go to the investor relations website, take a look at investor presentations from previous quarters, and see what management has to say in their remarks. They usually share a lot of stuff here in terms of the company direction, maybe even some challenges, because these are to investors and the board of directors. And some of these things, management may not even share during company events like town hall. It's not that they're a secret, it's just that they're just saving it for investors. Finally, you also have to understand the dynamics of the industry as a whole, figure out what competitors are trying to do. Most companies within the same industry should have the same problems or the same future goals, but management may have different approaches to tackle these items. Similar to what you did with your own company, take a look at what your competitors are doing, go through their investor relations, see what they're doing well, what they're not doing so well, and it will help you generally get a feel of how the entire industry is performing. Many people may think that, why do I need to know about all of this stuff? This is just more of, upper management things, CEO level, but I'm really telling you that these are all very important stuff to know because it guides you as to what kind of direction you're moving towards. Starting off my career in finance, I was in the business planning team, so I got a lot of exposure to what the company was trying to do in the future, what was their trajectory, the cost items, the drivers for revenue. All of these stuff were invaluable, and even after moving to product management, this information that I had really helped me design products that were more in line with the company's direction. See, every time we wanted to launch a new product, we needed to get management approval, and if you're launching something random and it's completely off from what management wants to do, then it's just a bit of waste of time, right? But if you know the overarching goal or the long-term goal of the company and you design the product in that direction as well, then management will be impressed, you can get things approved faster, and generally this is how having all this information can help you. By doing this first step, I would say you're already off to a very good start. Next up, I would say that you shouldn't be afraid to speak up. This is something that many fresh grads may face, especially if you're in meetings with people who are way more senior than you. Trust me, I know this because I was in a management program. When I just started work, right, 2-3 weeks in, I was placed in a meeting with head of departments, people who have been working in a company or in the industry longer than I've even been alive. So I thought to myself, obviously every idea or feedback that I had already been thought of, right? Who am I to come into these meetings as a fresh grad trying to say stuff that most of them probably already heard before in their lives, right? Well, apparently not. The realization moment came from me during one of these meetings where someone was presenting and I had something to say about it, but then I thought to myself, the normal thing, that I don't want to sound stupid. So I just didn't say anything at all, and right after the presentation, one of the head of departments actually raised the same question that I was thinking about, and it turned out to be a very good point, and it turned into a discussion after that. So then I realized, maybe some of the things that I'm thinking about is pretty much on par with what some of these guys are thinking about as well. If only I said it out loud instead of keeping it to myself. I also had a very supportive CFO, of course. He was always telling me that I should speak up during meetings. Don't be quiet because you can't leave a mark, just listening in and sort of being a fly on the wall. Don't be afraid of being wrong or sounding silly. Of course, don't just speak out of the sake of just saying things. You want to give a bit of thought into it, and if you really think that something that you can say creates value, then go ahead. Don't doubt yourself. Don't think twice, just go for it. So the third tip that I have for all of you is that you should build good relationships with your colleagues. And this is not just with your direct team, of course, that's kind of a given, but people in different departments, in different divisions within your company. Generally, the more people that you know or are friends with, the easier it'll be for you to do your job on a day-to-day basis. For example, I had close relationships with people from finance, from marketing, from technology, even regulatory, and it really helped me do my job much easier and much quicker. Whenever I wanted to launch new products, again, I would need feedback or opinions from some of these guys, and I could just easily just drop them a message, asking them what do they think, ask for some feedback, some input, and I didn't have to schedule lots and lots of meetings with random people I don't know and explaining myself, with them having a bit of doubt because they've never met me before. But since I've built these relationships, things just got much quicker. Of course, being independent is good. Some people may think, why do I need all these people? I can just do it all myself. Yes, you can, but at the end of the day, teamwork, collaboration, these are all things that are needed in big companies especially. No one person can do everything themselves. To do this, you can try working on different side projects that involve multiple stakeholders across different departments. And while doing all of this, of course, make it a point to ensure that you're a pleasure to work with and that people have a good impression of you so that you can continue speaking with them in the future. I consider these relationships that I built in my previous company to be an asset to me. It's something that you just can't build over 2 weeks. It takes time, and I ended up being close friends with many of them after all. Even after I leave, I'll still be in touch, and yeah, win-win. The next tip that I have for all of you is that you should always be a yes person until you earn the right to say no. This is kind of linked to the previous one, but basically, whenever someone asks you if you want to be involved in a project or something like that, at the start of your career, or even if you're changing to a new job, you should always try to say yes. No matter how small or tedious this project is, it helps you build a good reputation within your company, especially with your colleagues. There's a lot of motivational advice out there telling you about how your time is so important, you shouldn't be wasting it, and you should learn to say no. Generally, this is true. I'm not denying that. Time is the most valuable asset that all of us has. It can't be bought. But in this scenario, I would say just always take on new projects and say yes to nearly everything. Imagine starting off new in a company. What you want to do is start building your reputation. Again, going back to point number 3, you want to have good relationships with your colleagues, your peers, and doing this can really help you build that quicker. Once you start to build these relationships, this reputation that you can do things, then you can finally have or earn the respect that you can say no to things and people won't really think that you're a lazy person. An example of this was the first year that I started working. It was about 3 months in. Usually in around December, everyone goes on leave. I decided not to. I'm just going to hang around the office with a few people. And there was a new accounting standard that was being brought into the entire industry. It would of course impact the revenues, the cost of the company, and they needed someone to model it. So it was a bit difficult to do. I had not much guidance, but I thought, hey, since everyone's going on leave, I'm just going to try to do this myself. So I told my boss, let me give it a shot. I did it. I spent about 2 weeks on it when everyone's on leave. I had a lot of free time. So when everyone started coming back after the New Year's, I showed everyone, look, this is something that I've built. I think it's correct. And to this day, the model is still being used. So that's an example of me just saying yes to any project, of even volunteering myself to do things. And it ended up being a very good thing for me because it was something that I was sort of like an owner of. Doing all these small things really helped me build trust within the company. Of course, as a fresh grad, again, people look at you and think, I have to train this guy, it's gonna take me so much time. So if you can really show or prove to other people that you can do things quick and fast, then it'll really help you with building that relationship or that trust in your company. Other than just having a good reputation, of course, doing different things will help you really understand what the different teams do and the processes that they go through, so that in the future, if you ever want to do things with regards to that, you'll have an idea of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for them. The fifth thing that I have to share is that you should always have a problem-solving mindset. This one may sound a bit cliche, problem-solving, critical thinking, but it is actually true. Many people working in companies think that just because they work hard or just because they're the only person who can do a certain thing, that they're invaluable and they deserve a pay raise to the moon. Well, the truth is, I slowly realized that even though you were the only person who can do something, if it's a skill that is easily replaceable, it'll be difficult for you to make your case for progression. Just because you're the only person who can do process X right now doesn't mean the company can't just hire someone else tomorrow to do that very same job. So your personal branding within the company shouldn't be that I can do this particular process. It should be, if possible, about your mindset, about your thinking, and how you can solve problems. Regardless of the project, of the problem, or of a new strategy from the company, you want to be that person that they can rely on to sort of drive these things. That's something that is not easily replaceable. Imagine putting out a job description to say, I need someone who can do SQL versus I need someone who can solve problems. The first one is just a lot easier to find, even though yes, it is still a tough skill. The second one is more of a personality rather than a hard skill. I really think that my biggest strength within the 3 years in the company wasn't that I can do one thing exceptionally well, but rather I can be thrown into different projects and I can adapt well and learn fast. Now, this is something that isn't easily replicable, so it quickly makes you an asset to the company and it helps you with progression much faster. The final tip that I have for all of you is that you should always be accountable for your work. When you have a task to perform, when someone assigns something to you, be accountable for it and be responsible. If things don't work out your way, don't look for someone or something to blame. Instead, take responsibility for the failure so that you can improve on it next time. Sure, maybe someone did mess up, or maybe the system really was a bottleneck to you. But still, there can always be opportunities for us to reflect on ourselves so that we could have done things better. This is what people call having an internal locus of control. For as long as you blame others for your shortcomings, you will most likely never improve. This is maybe a tough pill for many people to swallow, but trust me, it is something that I experienced myself. It's also a great trait to have if you want to be a leader in the future. If there's one thing that I learned from being in military school, it's that as a leader, you're not only responsible for yourself, but you're also responsible for your entire team. So if you have the mindset of blaming people, no one wants a boss or a leader who would quickly throw them under the bus as soon as something goes wrong. So applying this back to work, if you're leading a project and someone who is supporting you makes a mistake, you shouldn't start a blame game, and instead, you should technically take this on yourself because you are the project owner after all. Anyway, I admit that not all companies or working environments are created equally. Some of you guys may not even have the opportunity to do some of these things. But try to apply as many of the tips that I've shared with you guys as you can. You should definitely see some progress in your work or in your career as well. Sure, some companies maybe do see the performance improvements within yourself, but they're still stingy and don't want to give you a raise or a promotion. But don't worry about it, just start building your CVs, and if this company doesn't appreciate you, you can always go somewhere else. Also, I acknowledge that fresh grad opportunities and salaries are a big issue in Malaysia. It's something that really needs to be resolved, but there's only so much that we can do as individuals. My thinking is that we should always cross out those problems that we can't solve, like this one, and instead focus on the ones that we can. Once you've made it past that, 1-2 years of being a fresh grad like I have, if you've done well at your company, you should start seeing more and more opportunities and you wouldn't really be stuck in that sticky situation very much longer. Starting off is definitely the most difficult part. Even I had to go to tons of interviews before eventually landing my first job. If you took on these tips and one day got a raise or promotion, then don't forget to smash the like button and comment down below. It'll be really good hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching till the end, guys. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and see you guys in the next one. Peace out.